Year 10, you should have watched the other two YouTube videos that I posted first. So if you haven't, then stop this, go and watch them, and then come back to this one, because I'm going to talk about a couple of the things that they have showed you in the videos. So we're looking today at how sound waves actually travel. And they travel in waves. Now, do you remember whenever we were learning at the start of light, we learned a little bit about how light travels in waves? Similar idea, but the waves for light and sound are different types of waves. So you saw it in the videos with the slinky, and we'll be filling it in our notes. But with sound waves, the sound wave is called longitudinal, and it means that the particles just vibrate backwards and forwards. So if the energy was traveling this way, then the particles just move backwards and forwards like that. Whereas with light, the particles were moving up and down, and that was what was giving us that wave shape that we would have talked about. Anyway, let's fill in our notes. So the vibrations, so we learnt that last day, that all sounds come from vibrations. So the vibrations from an object set the particles in air around it vibrating. The vibrations move from left to right, and the sound, as the sound that should be, moves through the air. So that's what I mean. If the energy is traveling that way, if that's the direction of travel of the wave, then the particles move backwards and forwards like that. Okay, so eventually it hits your ear, it moves as a wave. So in both of those videos, they showed you a slinky, which is a good demonstration of a longitudinal wave. So we did this with the light waves, if you remember, in class, and we showed how the slinky moved up and down. So like this part of the slinky would have been moving up and down as the energy traveled along it. That was a transverse wave. Well, sound waves are called longitudinal waves, and the way they work is that the particles move backwards and forwards. So with the slinky, the coils on the slinky just represent a particle. So like, say for example, this particle here, it's going to move backwards and forwards just about the same point. So it's vibrating about a point. It's moving backwards and forwards, but overall it's not changing direction. This coil or particle doesn't end up along here. So it's not like the particles physically travel along the wave to transfer the energy. They just move backwards and forwards and transfer that energy as they're doing it. Now you will have seen in the video the way the waves show up. So you get these little compressions, and then the areas where, see here, where the particles are most spread out, they're called rarefactions. So we'll fill that in. So label that in your notes, and careful with the spellings. It is a funny word. Okay. So when the wave has passed through the slinky, all the springs are in the same position as they were before. A wave like this travels through a material like air, water, or metal, but the material itself does not move. Okay, so on to page 100, and we need to be able to label the different parts of the ear. So the ear is obviously how we hear. I'm going to fill these in. Now the boxes are quite squashed here, so just do your best to get it fitted in nice and neatly. Okay, to see if you redrawn or anything like that, we'll just do the best with what we have. So I'm going to fill in little bits at a time here. Okay, so the bit of the ear that we can actually see is called the pinna, and overall the ear is split into these three sections: the outer, the middle, and the inner. I have no idea why I did not write those in the boxes, by the way. I just thought it wasn't going to fit. Probably would have. Anyway, so label those: the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. And then there's lots of different tiny little parts going on in here. Some of them you may have heard of before, Some of them you may not have. Let's fill some of them in. Eardrum you have probably heard of before. You would hear of people bursting their eardrum, and that is really because it's the first bit that the sound wave is going to hit whenever it travels down in your ear. So if you have a really, really loud sound, that's the bit of your ear that's going to get damaged first. So whenever the sound wave travels in along your ear canal and hits your eardrum, the eardrum passes those vibrations onto the hammer. The hammer then passes those vibrations onto the anvil, and the anvil then passes the vibrations onto the stirrup. Now collectively, these three, the hammer, the anvil and the stirrup, are called the tiny bones in the ear. So your sound wave travels along, the vibrations of the sound wave hit your eardrum, and the eardrum passes the vibrations along to all of these in turn. The hammer, the anvil and the stirrup. So the stirrup then passes the vibrations along to the cochlea. So I've labelled that here. The oval window is just this little bit here, and then the semicircular canals is here, so that's all part of the one bit. So the sound wave travels along, hits the eardrum vibrates, passes those vibrations to the hammer, which then pass to the anvil, to the stirrup, and then to the cochlea. Now inside the cochlea there's liquid and tiny hairs, and they vibrate, and those vibrations then or the hairs I suppose are attached to this nerve here. So this is a nerve that sends the signal to your brain. So let's fill that in as well. So we've got auditory nerve to brain there. This little one here, honestly, I'm not sure what it's pointing at, so I just don't have it filled in. We'll just leave it blank. Okay. Now, what I need you to have a go at is the activity on page 101. So on page 101, you have got different ear parts, but you also have then different definitions of all the different ear parts. So we've got 7 definitions, but, 7 names of ear parts, but we've only got 8 definitions. So there's one of them that doesn't have a name, and you're going to have to name that for us. Okay. Then number 3, put your pairs in the order that sound passes through the ear. So you can just list that as the order of numbers. Okay. And then page 102 is the page that you have to complete and upload a photo of to me. Okay, so I'm not going to go through that with you now. I will be uploading answers to 101 and 102 next lesson for you, which is going to be after Easter now. But those have to be, page 103 has to be in with me by the end of Thursday this week. So that's Thursday the 2nd of April, and that gives you plenty of time to get that done. Okay, speak to you soon. Bye.